covers single stroke rolls. There's basically two halves to this exercise. The first half is a check pattern, and the second half incorporates the single stroke rolls. And I'm going to be playing this at 3 different tempos: a very slow tempo, medium tempo, and a fast tempo. The reason I'm going to do 3 different tempos is to demonstrate the different mechanics that we use depending on what tempo we're playing at. If you look up in the more detailed section on the YouTube page here, you'll see a link to an article called Mechanics of Drumming, the System of Levers. And basically what I talk about in that article is the different levers we use. So, you can rotate at your elbow, which isn't used significantly for snare drumming, just for some really loud accents. Primarily we're going to be using a lot of wrist, this rotation about the wrist axis. And then we're also going to be using our fingers as well, quite a bit. And what we'll find out is that basically the slower the note we're playing, the bigger the lever we're going to be using. So we're going to be using more wrist, maybe a little bit of elbow. And if you think about it, you're moving a lot more mass, right? The bigger lever you're using. So that's going to tend to be a slow motion. And when you go down to the really small lever, the fingers, that's a really small amount of mass that we're moving. So that's going to tend to be used when we're doing a very fast stroke. For a slow stroke, we're using the large levers, the wrist, and still some finger, of course. At a fast tempo, we'll be using less wrist and quite a bit more finger. Here's the exercise, 80 beats per minute. Details to think about when you're working on this exercise. Your right hand will never play a downstroke until the final release of the exercise. So you're rebounding every single stroke. And so on until the end of the exercise. The first half of the exercise, the left hand will play downstrokes after every check. But the second half of the exercise, again, it's all rebound strokes until the very last left that you play. Especially after you play the single stroke, make sure you rebound off that for the first note of the check. Another common pitfall that you want to avoid is rushing the first left hand coming out of a single stroke roll. Make sure you place place that first left of the check exactly on the 16th note pulse. And that really goes for anything where you're going from some sort of easy pattern to a difficult pattern and then back to an easy pattern. It's going to be really common to rush the transition when you go from difficult to easy. Make sure you're placing those easy notes. You have to think really hard about them, even though they're easy. Otherwise you're going to rush. 100 beats per minute. 20 beats per minute.